Hello, welcome to Sketch Day Live. I'm going to keep it super tight today. I only have about an hour. Apologies for not being live yesterday. Well, not really apologies. Some days you just have to take a little break. Plus, I figured everyone was doing Easter stuff, so hope you're having a fantastic day. Not everyone, but you know, this time of year there are many religious traditions and celebrations that people observe, so just wanted to be sensitive to that and make some room for y'all to have time for yourselves. So hello Stephanos, Emmanuel, hello, and everyone. Anyhow, I'm gonna do the usual, start with a warm-up. I have some ideas of what I want to draw, but if you have questions or anything, definitely let me know. Happy to answer those as we go. All right, start with some straight lines here. I'm using a ballpoint pen just because I feel like it today. These pens actually bleed a lot with alcohol-based markers, but if you are drawing with chart pack, which are xylene-based, they won't make the marker or the pen bleed. So, hello, designs by Kodo. Was it Kadona? Hello, hello. So I hope y'all are good. I just have a crazy busy day today, but grateful for the work. Not complaining about that, just a lot to do. So hope you had a good restful weekend and week last week. If you're looking to catch me live, the best thing you can do is just subscribe, turn on alerts. Things are a little... I've been streaming typically on Sundays, but like I said, yesterday I just needed to take a break, so here we are. All right, let's do some ellipses real quick. Yeah, waterverse, not waterverse is alcohol-based, but xylene. So this is a xylene-based marker, whereas this is alcohol-based, so it's the solvent on the inside of the marker that makes a difference. You can always check out my marker guide, or, oops, what just happened? You can always check out my marker guide, or this link. And this has a link to all the stuff I typically use when I'm drawing. You can check that out. So, not doing any digital stuff today, just jumping right in, pen and paper, markers, and all that good stuff. So, I'm sure there's some water inside of this marker. I don't think it's like 100% alcohol, but the solvent on the inside for the ink is alcohol. How do you make drawing more fun? I think draw the things you enjoy, the things you're interested in. Some days for me, it's I'm just gonna draw robots, or I'm just gonna draw cars. Today on the stream, I was like, I want to draw some watches. I was cleaning up my house, and I mean, this thing's kind of replaced. You can see I've burned 600 and almost 66 calories today. This thing's kind of replaced all my other watches because it's functionally better. So, oh, my bad, Stephanos. Yes, you're right. There are watercolor markers, which are water-based. I don't use those very often. So, you're 100% right. There are water-based markers. My apologies. Once again, this is Sketch Day Live. Thanks for joining. Happy Monday. Just warming up here with some ellipses. Answering any career or life questions you might have. I've been through some stuff. I'm getting old now. So, if you have any questions, I can probably answer them for you. This song brought to you by Uria, my friend, Final Kaiju. Final Kaiju. I think he's on Spotify too, if you want to check out his stuff. And then some of the music I made myself. I really want to get back to it, but I've got some big stuff to finish before I do. Alright, this is just me warming up with some quick ellipses here, progressively opening them up. As we go down the page. Alright, cool. What's my earliest memory of what inspired me to draw? I think for me it was comic books, to be honest. I really do think comic books had a big part to play there. I'm really not designing these with any particular design in mind. Just kind of playing around. I think I'll do some watch related stuff today. But yeah, comic books. My brother was a big comic book collector, and so always like just had mad respect for comic book artists and what they do. I like to pretend sometimes that I can do what they do, but they're on a whole different level, you know. Not that I couldn't eventually one day, it's just you really have to put in the mileage specific to that style of drawing, and I think it's the same with any drawing. You just have to put in that mileage. So yeah, I'm just keeping it tight today. I don't have a ton of time, so I hope that's cool. But if you have any drawing specific questions, how do you do this or that, that's cool. I don't think I'm gonna do any cars today. I know that's always a popular topic. I like ballpoint pens because they're kind of like pencils, but I don't have to sharpen them. Meaning you can get some nice variety in terms of line weight, expressiveness, and so forth. And you know, if you've watched my show before, I always recommend making sure that you're sharp on paper before you go digital. I think it's important just to make sure you're not getting too dependent on the digital tools. Although I think some exciting things are happening in industry. I'm going to be testing out some tools from viscom.ai, for example. They contacted me, so I'll be testing those out. I'm excited to see how that impacts my workflow specifically. Should be interesting. All right, so there we got one. And I'm just riffing from my head. I want to be a comic book artist. That's cool. Have I worked in the entertainment industry? Not specifically, but I have done entertainment industry related projects, concept art, or television. There was a sci-fi TV show based on what's his name? I'm thinking Orson Welles, but Orson Scott Card, I think. One of his works, and I think it was called Extinction. Anyhow, speaking of sci-fi, I love sci-fi. Absolutely love it. I watched Donnie Darko this weekend, and I guess arguably that's maybe a little bit of a drama-fi. And then I also watched Annihilation again, which is a fantastic movie, I think, if you've never seen it before. Let's do another one in this vein here of having kind of a square face. Square face with a little bit of a ramp up to it. Maybe I'll keep this band simpler this time. Thanks and shout out to the patrons and channel members, as always, thanks for your support. Making it possible, at the very least, for me to pay for my internet bill so I can stream reliably. During the pandemic, you know, everybody started streaming and doing a lot of video stuff, so I actually had to upgrade my connection significantly. So I appreciate the help. Have I seen Aniara? It's one of my favorites. No, I haven't. Draw a Rolex. I don't like to draw things that already exist. You mean like design a new Rolex? But yeah, sometimes I do miss old, you know, traditional watches, in the sense that, like I was saying, I think my iPhone has, or what do we call it? Apple Watch has replaced a lot for me. All right, so I'll do a Rolex style watch. More Procreate, bro. Well, I've got plenty of videos on Procreate. I'm focusing on some hand skills right now. But I appreciate you checking in. As I was saying earlier, if you watch any of my videos, I have a pretty strong emphasis on hand skills, because you're not gonna just magically jump into an app and be good at drawing. So I think it is important to be able to draw by hand. Figure that all out. I feel like this is overworked already, but we'll keep going. So it's a little bit of a cheat to do 2 ellipses like this, because, you know, your watch band is going to be a little bit tapered. So if you just tweak the ellipse, it kind of helps a little bit. To be fair, I have not done Procreate in some time, I will say. But I've been using Adobe Fresco more, because one of my gripes about Procreate is file management, and how like sketchy it is to hope that your files will always be there. There's a lot of risk involved. So, have I seen Jim Lee draw? Yes, I have seen. Well, I haven't seen him draw, but I've seen his drawings. I heard he's on Twitch now, which is cool. It's so cool that you have all these like legends streaming now, because the streaming is so easy compared to when I started doing it, and it was like just so much more difficult. And not even just streaming, but like producing content online used to be a lot harder. So it is cool to see that. Was he on yesterday, or is he on every day? I don't know when he is on. Like I said, I don't have a ton of time today, so. Oh, Jim's been streaming since 2017. All right, I'll have to check him out. Okay, so my confession, I guess you could say, is I don't watch a lot of other streamers. Maybe I should. Because what'll happen is I'll be doing some work, and instead of watching someone draw while I draw, I will watch like a sci-fi movie or listen to music if I'm typing. Okay, Sundays. All right, maybe I'll move my stream to, at least in the summer, to another day besides Sunday, so I'm not freaking competing with Jim Lee. Because that's a losing proposition, right? Should I watch Spencer or Jim Lee? I think the answer is pretty clear. Pretty clear. But yeah, I'll have to check him out. So yeah, the nice thing about ballpoint pen, like I said, is you can kind of work light, and then when you're ready, just block things in, put a little bit more pressure on the pen. Truth be told, if I was actually designing a watch, by the way, I would probably do it in a straight on view like this, right? Center of the watch. The reason for that is there's really not too much topography, in the sense that I need to show the watch in 3D. This is just practice. So if you're actually doing a watch and you wanted to do a lot of different ideas, you can pack a lot of information into a view like that you wouldn't necessarily need to put into. Oh, I remember now, Emmanuel. I remember, yeah. 2 streams at once. Do I ever get discouraged? When I was a young boy, when I was a younger designer, for sure, I'd be like, oh man, I'm not gonna be as good as these other people. And I'm not. I'm still not as good as many other designers. For one, I'm very impatient when it comes to drawing. So for me, it's about quick execution, not so much creating the perfect, most precise drawing. Now, I have done drawings for clients where I've taken, 2 weeks. Oops, didn't mean to do that. I've taken like 2 weeks to finish something, like a single drawing. And it's incredibly detailed and precise and all that, but that's not fun, in the sense that, like, in my spare time, I would want to do it. So, why am I saying that? Well, I think part of being discouraged is thinking you can't do something like someone else does, but the reality is I could. It's just a matter of, like, applying myself. I just don't want to. So, I've been able to turn what used to be discouragement into inspiration, in the sense that it's like, oh, they're doing this or that. I wonder if I could pull this off. This is not a Rolex, by the way, but similar style. Anyhow, just being able to turn, like, seeing someone else's work into inspiration to try a little harder and be like, you know what, I'm gonna try that inking technique. But when I was younger, for sure, it's like the gap between where you want to be and where you see someone else at, but what you're not recognizing is, at least what I wasn't recognizing, was how much work they put into getting that good, and frankly how much time it takes as well to do like a good drawing. I think especially in today's, like, in today's era of the internet, where you'll see a time lapse and you think, oh wow, this is incredible, they're so good, but what you don't realize is the time lapse this hole for like a long period of time or something, right? So it's a lot less likely for me to get distracted when I realize all those things. And of course, your successes along the way can kind of help you build your confidence as you go. I made a mistake there, so I'm trying to fix it somewhat visually. I'll just obscure it with some shading. But yeah, it's now more inspiration than, I would say, frustration or any sort of consternation that I'll never be that good. Draw the date on the Rolex. Oh, you mean like the thing right here? Where there's the date marker. Yeah, it's probably too late for me to do that here. And the view, you know, it's a little bit weird, but I'll just throw some digits in here. Maybe keep this more of a vignette. Vignette meaning not the entire view of the object, but just enough. Made another boo-boo there. Just fix that. But yeah, just enough. So like I was saying earlier with the chart packs, because they're xylene based, I can do things like this without having the ballpoint pen bleed, which is kind of nice. And then I like to use my chart packs on, I like to use them on regular printer paper, personally. They are incredibly fumey, toxic. So if you are going to use them, keep a door open. All right. Take some breaks. And they smell intense. Like really, really intense. Really, really intense. Where did you go, my marker? Where did you go? Yeah, so I'm opening my door. Do I collab? I haven't done any in a while. I've been busy this year, and I keep saying I'm working on a project. But patrons know what I'm working on. I've dropped hints here and there. So I've been busy, and I really haven't had time to dedicate to collabs, but I'm not opposed by any means. Not opposed at all. This pen is giving me grief. Probably because I haven't used it in a while. Alright, there you go. Super fast. So yeah, I don't get discouraged like I used to when I was a younger designer. I think you just have to accept where you're at, realize where you're at, and then work to always being better. So I'm always trying to be a little bit better, try something different, whatever. Let's go back here and maybe do some stuff with that side sketch. I'm always trying to get a little bit better. But I see it as my competition is myself and my inspiration is others. Right? So I'm trying to compete with my best work or be inspired by the work of others, not compete with them. How about y'all? Do you get discouraged when you see other people's work or not really? Not at all. I'm going to try and pay a little closer attention here this time. All right. See, I'm giving 2 workshops this week too. One at Syracuse University, the other for Virginia Tech. Those are always fun to do.
I don't know her.
Always a good time. It's fun to work with students. And then last week I did a workshop with a graphic design group, which is always challenging. So, you know, people who aren't necessarily used to drawing in perspective, how do you teach them to see in 3D and so forth? But yeah, there's a lot of reasons I don't use Procreate. The principle of those being the file storage issue. I know it's like a really cheap app and it's pretty accessible, but that comes at a cost in the sense that there's not as much development, I think, on the app as there is on other apps that, you know, love it or hate it. With the Adobe app, they have the budget to keep iterating, and frankly the desire and drive, because of competition, to keep iterating and making it better. So I'm kind of in the Fresco camp right now, and I don't use a lot of tools and helps while I draw, so the whole quick shape, streamline, smoothing things out, it's not really anything that adds that much value to my drawing and visualization process, because I'm not using those tools. But I can understand for someone who depends on those tools and helps that it would be nice to have all that, right? Totally get it. But as a fundamental idea, get good on paper, you'll be good digital. If you're looking to level up your skills. I was even talking with another friend this past week, whose work I absolutely love. Like, I messaged them to say, yo, your stuff is amazing, keep it up. And they were like, yeah, thanks, it's about practice. I need to get back to paper, because they realize that even being good digitally, like, it's important to have those fundamental skills. What's the most helpful things to draw or study? I think the most important things for me as a person who loves drawing objects, it's kind of my jam. Y'all know that. I draw things, not people, but I think doing primitives in perspective, form combinations, adding 2 shapes together. What does it look like when you have 2 cubes meeting together, or cylinder and a sphere, or pyramid and a sphere. What does that look like? What are all the combinations? And doing that in perspective, I think that is huge. I can do that, Nils, if you want to see a bit of what I'm talking about. I can do a quick little exercise and show y'all. All right, I'm gonna try and be careful and get the little date magnifier on here. Okay. All right, so I'll finish these up, and then I'm going to talk about form combinations and why that's good practice, and then I'll wrap things up for the stream today. I know, super short, super tight, but busy freaking day for me. So it's the type of day where you're like, I don't know if I'm going to even make it, but I had to stream. I, scheduled it, and I didn't want to cancel again. So here we are. So something like this on a sketch, oftentimes it's better to blow up and do a bigger version of it if you are looking to show in a precise way what something looks like. Right, this is actually how that piece looks. It doesn't make sense to like waste time getting all that detail in there, which is why I just kind of scribble it in. You've only seen Peter Hahn talking about. He's pretty good. He's an interesting personality. He's good, but he knows he's good, and he comes across that way. I'll say it that way. My least favorite kind of human. The ones who know they know they're good, and they make sure you know they're good. As crazy as Monday can get. What's up, Roshan? You don't use ballpoint pens? Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do. You gotta show people, and also stay sharp yourself when it comes to tools, I think. So everybody give Roshan a follow. Just look him up on Instagram. Remember you were asking me if I get depressed at when people are good. He's probably the only person that depresses me at how good they are. Do I have a schedule? Right now it's usually Sunday, or I guess today, Monday, around this time. So the best thing you can do is subscribe, turn on alerts. I'll usually post the stream a few days in advance, and then you can have alerts on. All right. So that's usually what I'll do. Man, my brain is all over. I was like starting this other sketch before I finish this other one. I think it's also important to recognize the word sketch and what that means. It doesn't mean perfect drawing. That's what I do. I don't do perfect drawings, but I sketch. I scribble ideas. I go fast. There's a designer, I forgot her name, Kate something, on Instagram, and she uses a ballpoint pen and does these like hyper realistic drawings that take literally days to finish one drawing. The amount of patience, pardon me, that it takes to do all that, just wild, just wild. All right, just so you can see over the shoulder here. All right, this is what we're working with. Focus. All right, boom. So that's kind of what it looks like off axis. You can kind of see from my angle there. Oh, Roshan. What ballpoint biro do you use? Okay, so there was a question earlier. I'm gonna close out with this question. The question was about the most helpful things to draw or study to get better at drawing complex art objects. So I will include organic objects. Yeah, Kate Hunt. I'll include organic objects in this, but it really comes down to fundamental forms. Right, so that's gonna be the first thing you want to practice. So you have things like your cube, cylinder. Right, so cube, cylinder, sphere, cone, and I guess should include here pyramid as well. All right, so a lot of products you can derive from these basic shapes. All right, so and then the second thing you want to do is combinations, and that's going to be add, subtract, multiply these shapes. So what does two cubes intersecting look like in perspective, and how do you figure out and draw that in a way, you know, depending on how much. See, I'm even struggling because I don't do these nearly enough. Right, so you might have two cubes. I can actually clean this up with some line weight. So this is what I'm talking about. Like, a lot of people you see post their work online, they're not going to show you all this rough stuff that they're doing behind the scenes, but I guarantee you many people have their like rough sketches that they keep behind the scenes, and the time lapses you see are misrepresentative of the amount of time it takes to complete something. And I used to stress myself out sometimes, like, oh man, they're so good. You know, Roshan's pumping this sketch out in so little time. How can I keep up with him? Anyhow, so I'll clean this one up too. His perspective's off. Alright, so you want to practice drawing the fundamental forms from a variety of points of view and perspectives. So what does it look like if I see more of the front of a cube as opposed to the back and a little of the top? Just different views, you know, cylinders. If I'm looking at the cylinder from, like, I guess this would be more of a circle, but if I'm looking at the cylinder this angle as opposed to, you know, looking at it this way, those are two different ways to draw the same thing. The sphere will always be a circle. That's just how it is in perspective. Sphere, circle, sphere, circle. So practice your circles. Your ellipses, right? This is just an ellipse with tangential lines drawn up to a point, right? So we have point and plane. Same thing with the pyramid, point and plane. That's all it is. Practice your shadows, right? And understand why your shadows look the way they do. Right, there's calculation involved there, but once you get the basics down, it's not too hard to figure out what it looks like. So continuing on combinations, oh, what does it look like if I have a cylinder meeting some sort of rectilinear shape, right? And practice sketching those. You can do this in 1 or 2 point perspective, but a lot of products that you see, hard surfaced objects, are really just the combination of these primitive shapes. And then you start to play with things like not only that, but subtraction. So if I cut, for example, a cone at an angle, this is what I end up with. Something like that. I have this plane, right? And why is this an ellipse? Well, if I cut a cone at any point here, all I have is a progressive series of circles, and a circle in perspective is an ellipse. Pretty simple. All right. Any tips for what to do after high school? It just depends on what you like to do or what you want to do. So if you want to do comics, do a lot of figure drawing, do a lot of perspective drawing, understand architectural perspective, understand anatomy, learn how to draw dynamically. All things I don't do, but that's what you'd have to do, right? So then the next thing you want to focus on is transitions for your hard surface work. So if I have a box, I say box because this allows me to not necessarily draw a proportional cube, okay? But if I have a box and I want to round this corner, so if I want to round that, what does that mean? Well, it means if I'm looking at the box from this angle and I see this edge and I want to round that edge, I'm actually going to take something like a quarter of a circle. Right, so here's my circle. Quarter circle. And then translate that into perspective. So I'm thinking about this, and then back into perspective I go, cool, let me draw a box here. Circle, and a quarter of this circle now becomes my round. Okay. So practicing these things, and like when I say that, I mean literally, you know, if I want to round this the opposite way. Okay. Then I have to think about, okay, what's a quarter? This should be a bit lower. What's a quarter of this? Oh, cool. There's my line. Let's get a quarter of this one. Cool. There's my line. And so now I have this transition. Okay. And I have a surface that moves through space and has accurate construction. All right, but you only get to this point when you understand the basics, because if I don't understand a cylinder, why a cylinder looks the way it does, I'm just phoning it in today. But if you don't understand why a cylinder has the shape it does, I can't begin to actually do this properly and well. Okay. So I think those are the key things All right, hey Kapil. And of course, you know, perspective. I guess that goes without saying. Perspective, not perspective. Perspective. All right. You want to practice your perspective, try different points of views, angles, understand things like auxiliary vanishing points, measured perspective, point of view, what I call progression of scale, things like rotation in perspective. All of those things are going to help you so that, you know, ultimately, if I want to just freestyle draw an automobile, I'm just going to do a generic shape here. Right, so if I want to start with a shape like this, for example, and turn this into a vehicle, really what's happening as I'm thinking about this is I'm thinking about, well, let me draw the car and then I'll mess up the sketch. All right, so wheel, rocker panel. This is going to be a super rough sketch, but right, to be able to do this, I think it's important to and I'm not kidding. I know it looks like a leap. Like, oh, he went from drawing simple shapes to all of a sudden there's a freaking car here. But there is rhyme to all of this. And how things show up. I mean, with some cheats here and there, but let's say you're sketching some car concept, whatever. All right, looks like I'm just throwing lines down and all of a sudden there's a car. But quite literally, you know, I'm thinking about this shape to the front, and in perspective, what's the bounding box of this shape? What's the second operation that gets me there? You know, if this is my center line and I'm this wide in the front, I'm basically just drawing this wedge shape. Right. And then from here, another box. Maybe I come in a little bit like here, you know, sucking on the body side a bit. Maybe here I have a point that comes out a little bit, so I now have a body line. That's going to form part of my car. The top here is really just a box that is trapezoidal, right? The wheels are just cylinders, or you could argue a cylinder that just goes all the way through. Right, so if you can draw those basics, right, and go through the practice here and do this stuff, it's gonna make, for me anyways, this is how I learned to draw them. It's gonna make that so much easier, to the point where, yeah, now I can cheat because I'm understanding. I mean, camber on wheels is a thing that transportation designers will do, but the fundamentals are that there is a cylinder moving through space. Maybe we'll make this an SUV of some sort. There's a cylinder moving through space that is forming the base or basis of that wheel. This feels kind of Mercedes. You know, some like sculpted sculpted thing happening here. All right, but it's being able to do that basic stuff that's gonna let you just move quicker, right? And granted, that's a rough sketch. If I want to, I can also overlay, and then eventually get a tighter sketch if I want to, right? Should I do it? No, I'm not gonna do it. So this is just a quick underlay that I could use, or if you're working in ballpoint pen, just adding a bit of pressure where you need to can help you clean up that sketch in a reasonable way. Anyhow, with some work, you could turn this into, or I could, I guess, turn this into something presentable. Maybe even scan it in and finish it in Procreate or Adobe Fresco, which is my go-to these days. So for me, it's just a matter of those basics get you to this point, right? How do you spend more time drawing? You take long breaks. I take long breaks too, but I try to draw something every day, at least one thing every day is what I try to do. So I take my philosophy when it comes to like fitness and working out. I'm not the most fit human on the planet, but I do believe in consistency over time, right? So if you want to get good at anything, it's really just consistency over time, or maybe it's consistency times time, right? Yeah, that's a better way to do it, to write that equation. So at the gym, I promise myself I'm gonna do 30 minutes of something, no matter how I feel, no matter what day. 30 minutes at the gym is what I do. And then, it might take years, it might be 5 years, maybe 1 year, might be 6 months, whatever the case is. That's going to impact your change, your improvement. All right. So find things that you're interested in drawing. If you like drawing characters, anime, manga, if you like drawing comic book stuff, do that. If you like drawing houses, draw houses. I totally get burnout and getting bored, and wanting to do some different things, but I would say it's more important to just be consistent over time. All right, I'm gonna wrap there because, like I said, I have a busy day, but did some watches today. If you want to catch that, you can catch the replay. Answered some questions as well, and I think this little educational aside about things to practice is important. So if you have time, try some of those out, breaking down the perspective and how I see things there, which ultimately will lead you to being able to move quickly and draw more gestural forms, because it all boils down to the fundamentals. And yeah, Jim Lee is right. Just draw. Consistency, time, just draw something, right? I need to follow my own advice, because one of the things I've wanted to get better at is drawing people. And for sure, if I want to get better at drawing people, I have to draw people, but I haven't drawn people. So it's always in the back of my head. Draw people, draw. All right. Thanks, everyone. It's been fun. Appreciate the questions. I'll be back this week, probably Friday or Sunday, but around this time. Just subscribe, turn on alerts. I'm not trying to boost numbers. I'm trying to make this easy for you. So if you have the alerts on, you'll get notified either by your app or email, and you'll get that reminder, and I'll go live. So life happens. I'm a full-time single dad. Sometimes I'm depressed or stressed or anxious, whatever, and I may not show up, but I do show up each week. So thanks again. Much love. Thanks to the Patrons for your support, and channel members as well. If you're interested, check out patreon.com/sketchaday, or just show up to the stream. If you learned something today, break it down for yourself, But take an opportunity to sit with someone and teach them what you know. Teaching is one of the best ways for you to actually improve what you're doing, because you're going to understand it better, because you have to understand it to teach it. Okay. Have a happy Monday. Take care. Pay your taxes. Drink some water. And I'll see you next time right here on Sketch a Day.